Hi viewers, in this class we are going to discuss the structure and functions of the brain of CALOTES. In general, the nervous system of CALOTES is similar to that of the frog except for a few minor variations. The nervous system of CALOTES consists of three subheadings. For our convenience, we have classified the entire nervous system of the CALOTES into three parts, namely the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the autonomous nervous system. Always, central nervous system includes brain and the spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system consists of nerves from the brain that are cranial nerves and the nerves from the spinal cord, spinal nerves. Both the cranial nerves and spinal nerves collectively forms the peripheral nervous system, whereas the autonomous nervous system includes two subsystems, namely sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Let us see the central nervous system, especially the structure and functions of the brain. Central nervous system includes brain and the spinal cord. So let us discuss in detail of the brain structure and functions of the various parts of the brain. See here, the brain is enclosed in the cranium of the skull. The brain is protected by two meninges called pia mater and the dura mater. The two coverings remain separated from each other and the space between them is called as the subdural space. Subdural space. It is filled with a fluid called as the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Cerebrospinal fluid, so which protects the brain from different physical and mechanical shocks. Brain is differentiated into forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Forebrain consists of olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, and the diencephalon, whereas the midbrain formed by the optic lobes and the crura cerebri, whereas the hindbrain it is made up of cerebellum and the medulla oblongata. The forebrain is also known as the prosencephalon, midbrain mesencephalon, and the hindbrain rhombencephalon. Let us see one by one. See here you can observe these are the olfactory lobes, cerebral hemispheres, and this is the diencephalon. Then followed by in the midbrain, optic lobes, crura cerebri are the nerve fibers which are embedded inside. And in the hindbrain, this is the cerebellum and this is the medulla oblongata. Cerebellum and the medulla oblongata. See here, cerebellum, and here it is the medulla oblongata. Let us see one by one. First, take into consideration the forebrain. So this part of the brain. It consists of telencephalon, that is the olfactory bulbs, and the cerebral hemispheres anteriorly, and the diencephalon posteriorly. There are two parts in the forebrain, telencephalon and as well as the diencephalon. Telencephalon consists olfactory lobes and the cerebrum, whereas the diencephalon consists of same diencephalon only. Then from the side wall of the telencephalon emerges a pair of sac-like projections called olfactory lobes. The posterior part is elongated and is called as the cerebral hemispheres. These are the cerebral hemispheres, these are the olfactory lobes. The roof of the cerebral hemispheres is thin. It is called as the neopallium because the gray matter are situated on the outer margin. The ventrolateral walls of the cerebral hemispheres are thick. The thick region is called as the corpora striata. Corpora striata or corpus striatum. The diencephalon bears on the dorsal surface. Diencephalon bears on the dorsal surface two projections called parietal organ and the pineal body. Parietal organ and the pineal body. The parietal organ is situated anterior to the pineal body. So this is the parietal organ and this is the pineal body. So it is located anterior to the pineal body. From the ventral side of the diencephalon hangs a funnel-like structure which is called as the infundibulum, on the apex of which it is situated the pituitary body or hypophysis. Pituitary body or the hypophysis. The roof of the diencephalon is thin, highly vascular and is called roof plate. The lateral walls are called as the thalami and the floor is called as the hypothalamus. The dorsal surface is the epithalamus and the floor surface is the hypothalamus. These are the three parts of the forebrain. Coming to the midbrain, it consists of a pair of optic lobes. It consists of a pair of optic lobes. So these are the pair of optic lobes. They are also, if the optic lobes are two, it is called as the corpora bigemina. Corpora bigemina, which arise as the projections of the dorsolateral walls. Ventral to the optic lobes, there are a pair of longitudinal bands, looks like the peduncles, called crura cerebri, which connect the hindbrain to the midbrain. So crura cerebri are not at all visible in the picture, so but they are present and they connect the hindbrain to the midbrain. Then coming to the hindbrain or rhombencephalon, the hindbrain consists of a narrow and non-convoluted metacephalon, otherwise the cerebellum. Metacephalon is nothing but the cerebellum. The roof of the metacephalon is thin and non-nervous, but the floor is thick. And a long myelencephalon or the medulla oblongata, which continues posteriorly with the spinal cord. It is the medulla oblongata. And commissures of the brain of the calotes. Various commissures of the brain of the calotes. There are different kinds of commissures, namely number one, anterior commissure. It is a wide transverse tract of nerve fibers connecting the two corpora striata. So corpora striata are present in the cerebral hemispheres. So anterior commissure present there. And coming to the habenular commissure. Habenular commissure, it is anterior to epiphysis and situated between the epithalamic ganglia. So that is epiphysis, hypophysis are present in the diencephalon region. So that habenular commissure located there. Coming to the aberrant commissure, it runs through the lamina terminalis and joins olfactory lobes. It is regarded as the most important diagnostic feature of the calotes. And coming to the hippocampal commissure, fourth one, the hippocampus is the swollen part of the mid-posterior region of the cerebrum. The two hippocampi are connected by the hippocampal commissures. Then last one is the posterior commissure. It connects the posterior part of the two optic thalami and is situated just at the junction of the diencephalon and mesencephalon. So these are the commissures of the brain of the calotes and ventricles which are present in the calotes. See here, internally the brain bears cavities which are continuous to one another and to the spinal cord. The cavity is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. The cavities in the olfactory lobes are called as the rhinocele, and the cavities of the cerebral hemispheres are called as the paracele or lateral ventricles or first and second ventricles. And the diencephalon contains the third ventricle, while the fourth ventricle is situated in the medulla oblongata in the form of the metacele. The two lateral ventricles are communicated to the third ventricle diacele by a small opening called as the foramen of Monro. Foramen of Monro. The third and fourth ventricles are communicated with each other by a narrow passage which is called as the iter or aqueduct of Sylvius. Iter or aqueduct of Sylvius. Then coming to the functions of the brain. The olfactory lobes, they contribute smell sense or olfaction. Cerebral hemispheres are responsible for the memory, intelligence, regulation of voluntary movements. Diencephalon, regulation of metabolic activities and reproduction, that is, it controls the general metabolic functions of the body. Optic lobes, these are the centers for the sense of vision. Crura cerebri, they connect to the forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain. Cerebellum, it coordinates the movement of voluntary muscles, regulation of the muscle contraction, the homeostasis, whereas medulla oblongata, it controls the involuntary function. Controls the movements of involuntary muscles, that is regulates breathing, heartbeat, blood vessel function, digestion, etc. Regulation of heartbeat, respiratory movements, all the involuntary activities are under the control of medulla oblongata. These are the functions of the brain. So by this we come to know the structure of the brain and its parts, cavities, commissures, and the functions of different parts of the brain of calotes. Thank you one and all.